Barbara's
chairman.
Okay,
She will not be here,
yeah. Do you
so
want to act as chairman or?
I assume that's probably what was going to happen.
I have not a clue.
Is this everybody then that needs to be here? You said
So.
Randy's not gonna be here?
No, Randy's out of town.
My notes will not be anywhere as neat as Jessica's, but, so.
That's okay.
You want to deal with the former employee issue first since Travis is here?
Yes, I would say that would be the correct thing to do. Yep,
So we have two topics we're talking about today?
yes, I believe, the employee, former employee issue, and then I think there's something on family health insurance, is that correct?
Yes.
Yep, okay.
Yeah.
That's what I thought, so I'll just open the floor and let you and Nicole speak, and we'll go from there.
Okay, so I guess I'm here more in a question and answer
Yes.
type of role.
And we spoke on the phone about the former employee situation. Could you just give the board basically the same summary you gave me in terms of what the person's retirement date was, what he would have been eligible for, and how it came to pass where he remained on the county insurance rather than on
Okay.
Medicare?
Yes, so at the time, you guys covered retirees under your plan, which I believe the retirement date was 11/1 of 18, is that correct?
His was, I think, 12/31 of 18.
12/31 of
And then
18.
he was eligible for Medicare 11/1.
11/1, okay, thanks. So to summarize everything, I'm going to kind of rewind. We had a participant on the plan who was a large claimant. And anytime we get the diagnosis that this individual had, everybody gets involved in the claim. Because what happens with a dialysis claim is what the diagnosis happens to be. It can be $300,000 to $500,000 claim. And when you have a $27,500 deductible like the county does, you know, the carrier wants to know, what are we doing to mitigate the cost, because this is catastrophic when you're only paying a couple $100,000 in reinsurance premium. And you know, what are we going to do? Because we know that once a person becomes eligible and they start dialysis treatment, if they're active on your plan, that Medicare will not become primary if they're active on your plan until 30 months later. After 29 months, then they become active automatically on your plan. So we have a program through a company called Ethicare, and what Ethicare does is when we have somebody that goes on dialysis, they go and they negotiate a rate that is lower and above Medicare so that the facility makes profit, and we get that contract in place so that the county and the reinsurance carrier isn't paying as much. So normally the treatments are in a $30,000 to $40,000 a month range. I believe we negotiated somewhere in a $13,000 a month range. So we paid significantly less on the claim due to the negotiation on the front end of the claim. So what I called Randy Beeler at Shelbyville Insurance and I said, hey, what do you know about this guy? Do you know when he's going to become eligible for Medicare? Because whenever he becomes eligible for Medicare, that will, if he's an active employee, your plan will stay primary for 30 months. If he's retired, then as soon as he's not actively working anymore, Medicare becomes primary, your plan becomes secondary. Because you guys were covering retirees at that point in time, which you guys were not required to cover. But the previous contract from Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois, which Danzig and Shelbyville Insurance had that provision in there. So you guys are not a municipality, so you're not required to cover them under the Illinois statute. So at this point in time, you know, Randy had reached out to Debbie, I believe is her name, is that?
She was here 1 month after he retired.
Okay, so, and said, hey, I said, what's going on with this guy? And they said, I don't know, he's not on Medicare yet. He kept telling everybody that he was going to go on to Medicare. So he was a retiree. So what we're waiting for is for your plan to become secondary and your plan to be primary. And I even spoke to the individual, and he says, yeah, I'm enrolling. And then evidently he was already enrolled and in Part A, not Part B. And for the layperson, this is how it works. Part A is your hospital portion of Medicare. Part B is your outpatient. Dialysis treatment falls under outpatient because they're not in facility treatment. If they would have been in facility, in the hospital being treated, it would have been covered under his Medicare that he had that he did not inform us. So at that point in time, we were paying the plan as if the plan was primary, not knowing that he had Medicare. So he had called me, and I guess there had been some communication with Erica and Randy, and he said, yeah, he says, I'm going to enroll in Medicare. He kept telling me I'm going to enroll in Medicare all along. And I told him, I said, you're better off on Medicare because of your situation. You basically have everything covered at 100% of your plan, and it's going to be cheaper for you. So he was pre-65. So when you're pre-65 on Medicare, you have to physically go and enroll in Medicare. You have to pay your premium for your Part B direct. I'm assuming he had at that point in time, Part A was free because he worked his 40 quarters and he qualified. So that's what you have to work 10 years, and then your Medicare A is free. Due to his age, I assumed he had worked and paid it. So that's kind of where it was at, and then this drug on for several months. Then finally,
19 months.
yeah, he finally let us know that he had Medicare, and when we got his card in, the card said November 1st of 18 that he had Medicare A. And then I believe it was July 1st of 20.
Yeah, because I think he sent the card.
Yeah, I think he
June
texted
something.
to me or something
He
like.
texted to me and I
Maybe
texted
forward
on to
to-
you.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's the way it went. It's been a little while. Been water in the
A
bridge
year.
since then. So that's the way it went. So the good news is this: the county has in their stop loss contract what they call a advanced funding mechanism. So what that means is that at Consociate, we process and pay your claims up to the $27,500 or just a little bit over, because it's stop loss insurance, it's not insurance. And what that means to you is if you have traditional insurance, you have a $500 deductible or whatever, and you pay your premium and it goes on. Well, with reinsurance, in order for reinsurance to work, you have to fund your specific deductible, which is $27,500 or above, and then the reinsurance kicks in. So we have what we call, for the county's benefit, advanced funding. So what advanced funding does is you fund that claim up to $27,500, and then we have this separate check register, and we hold these checks over to the side until we get the money back from the carrier. So this was going on over 2 contract periods. It's a January 1st date now. So with these advanced funding registers, with these monies being held, that money did not go out of the county's account, which is a great thing. So in a normal situation, if you didn't have advanced funding in your contract, the county would have just kept on paying and paying and paying, and this extra amount above the $27,500 that we requested reimbursements from the providers, which we never did receive, they don't have to give it back if they're supposed to. You guys aren't out that money. So Erica has the exact number that you're out, the funding up to the $27,500 minus the contributions he had made. So the county's not out any more than what they would have been out if he was an active employee than the $27,500 roughly.
Just in the reinsurance, because that went to the stop loss, which was 100 and some odd thousand, we stopped payment. We did not, they wanted to know if the loan's paid or not, and we said no.
No, exactly.
So
we backed those claims back out of our claims system, and you guys are out the money up to the $27,500, which is roughly $55,000 minus his contributions, which
Well, it was
was
54,000 and some change. plus his contributions, which I believe were around 17,000. The county's out $34,297.01.
So he got, is it accurate to say he was eligible for Medicare Part B or Part A because he filed for disability?
Yeah, you're automatically eligible for Medicare when you go in-stage renal failure.
But that's only Part A, you have to do a separate application for Part
You
B?
can do it all at the same time,
Do they
but you have to
ask-
pay for it.
Do they ask him when he's signing up for A, do you want Part B, and explain to him the differences? Do you
I
know
have
that?
I have no idea what the context of those conversations were. That's outside of what we do.
Okay, you don't know then, when he went to sign up for A, they explained to him A covers this, B covers this.
I have no idea what they do. What my guess is that he figured he had the county's insurance. I mean, this is just my thought. Why should I pay for another insurance if I'm already paying for the county's? And why should I pay for B and the county's insurance? Well, he'd been better off to buy a Medicare supplement and pay for B because it would have been way less premium than paying the rate he was paying here at the county. I have no idea what the context of any of that was. You can do it all online if you want, but when you're disabled, I really don't know the answer to that question as far as his thought
Well,
process.
I've done it because I'm retired and stuff, and they explained to me A and B on the phone and stuff when I went
I'm
to
sure.
sign up and stuff. And then there's a separate one for prescription plans too
Mhm.
and stuff.
Yep.
So they explained it to me. I just wonder if it was explained to you.
You guys didn't,
I have
you
speculated.
didn't sell that
No.
policy to him, so you have no clue
No.
what was said.
I have no idea, but I mean, if you have a serious illness, I'm sure you're going to ask questions, because they say, are you enrolled in A and B, is the way I understand it, because I've helped somebody with an application that was online, and it's, are you enrolled in A and B, and then, to certify, if you're talking about when you aged into Medicare, yeah, because you have to opt out of B if you're drawing Social Security, if you're aging in, but if you are pre-65, you physically have to apply for A and B and go through that process because you're disabled. If you were 65 plus and this is the way it works, if you're drawing Social Security benefits, you're automatically enrolled in A and B and you have to opt out of B.
Okay.
If you are not, if you're actively working and you're contributing to Social Security, you're not automatically enrolled. You have to say, physically enroll me in B. That's what you have to do.
If you're not retired then and you're still working, you're under their primary care insurance, even though you're over 65 years old.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah. You say that retirees had health insurance? This man thought he had kept his health insurance? Is that what I understand you to say?
Yeah.
Was he paying for it then?
Uh-huh.
He did have insurance, but he also was aware that once he was on Medicare, he no longer qualified under our plan.
Yeah.
And every single month I would call him because he kept saying,
Yeah, that's true, because your plan has provision and it says, if you are retired and you are eligible and enrolled in Medicare, it doesn't say A or B, it just says enrolled in Medicare, you're not eligible for our plan. And that's typical of county governments. Yep, I've had other county governments have the same exact provision there. It doesn't distinguish between A and B, it just says enrolled in Medicare. And then boom, you're not eligible for the plan anymore. That's your date you're not eligible anymore.
So he was only enrolled in Part A up until January 1st of 2020, correct? Or July 1st of 2020?
Yeah, July, yeah.
And Medicare A was not covering any of his expenses because they were outpatient procedures?
I'm sure it was covering some if he had some inpatient stuff, but outpatient, no, it would not cover that.
Because all I have is a screenshot of a letter from Medicare dated May 26th of 2020 to him. It's difficult to read, but it states, you asked for a statement verifying the Medicare entitlement And then it says Medicare Part A effective November 1st, 2018, Medicare Part B effective July 1st of 2020. And that Part B would have been what covered all of his medical expenses, the outpatient.
Yes.
So until July 1st of 2020, Medicare wasn't covering any outpatient expenses.
That's correct.
And then it says, use this letter as proof of Medicare coverage until you get the Medicare card you requested, which should arrive in 4 weeks. Sounds like he didn't even have a Medicare card yet.
No, but your Medicare number is the same. So your Medicare,
what?
your Medicare number is the same, whether you have A and B or just A. So
So is this was this letter sent after he signs up for Part B?
that was verifying his coverage for B.
Okay, so at some point he must have applied for Part B.
Yeah, had to have got that letter because he had evidently waived off on it back in November of 18.
Okay. But do we know if he ever actually applied for Part A, or was he automatically put on it when he applied for disability?
You have to apply for it for disability. They just don't give it to you. You have to go and physically apply. Or if somebody helps you, or if somebody's going to help you, a provider's going to help you, somebody's going to help
You actually apply for Medicare, or you just
Yeah.
apply for
you.
disability?
Medicare disability.
Okay.
It's one and the same.
So he probably applied for Part A, but not B back in 2018?
Probably. That'd be my speculation. I don't know. I don't know why he wouldn't have signed up. That's the whole thing. That's the whole point.
If you don't take B when you take A, is there a waiting period then to come back and pick up B?
No, you can pick it up at any time.
How
As
far
far
back can you go?
I
If
don't-
you're on A, could you say, hey, I wanted to have B, and can I pay the premiums for B backwards?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if they ever, I've never heard of that before.
My guess would be
That'd be my guess.
no.
But if there's no waiting period then and stuff,
You'd have to ask Social Security Administration that. I don't have any idea that they would retro. Now, I have seen like somebody that applied for Social Security disability, and it takes sometimes a year or more to get that
it takes a
done.
big fight sometimes to
Yeah,
get done.
and then they retro the coverages back.
And you get back pay, yes.
And you get back pay, all your benefits are backdated. But what I can tell you is, if A was effective 11/1, why didn't he take B then? And why would they go back and retro back again? That doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't know, but I would have to think maybe he didn't understand.
Well, not everybody understands Medicare. Medicare is tough.
Unless you
Yes.
have somebody sitting there with you who don't understand, and they talk to you, on the phone, and that person sitting there listening says, and you have to address yourself when that phone call comes in, that so-and-so's sitting here too. You can't just have somebody sitting there.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. Hey, wait a minute now. Do you understand this? Okay.
Okay, that's good to know.
Because he was paying like approximately $900 some to the county, right, per month? And if he'd been on Medicare Part B, he would have been like, I think you said like $348 total.
Well, it'd be-
$148 plus an approximate
$148.
$200 supplemental.
Yeah.
So he's not profiting by doing this.
I-
I mean, he's losing money by doing this.
That's correct. He'd
He's not
have been
saying-
way better off to have been on Medicare. Because, Medicare pre-65 disability plan is in the $220 a month range, plus your Part B premium in the $140, whatever it was in 2018, 19, $140 roughly a month. So for $360, he'd have basically had 100% coverage. Plus whatever he had to pay for his drug plan, which is $10 to $50, depending on the scope of his drugs. I don't know what he was taking.
And then the $900 he was paying a month, that's not 100% coverage.
No, it's the county's plan, and it's the same thing plan you have when you're active.
Or deductible or
The active
reinsurance would have come in and we.
There's a part that goes to Consociate for their administrative costs, and then the remainder goes to the bank, to our group insurance fund that pays claims,
Yes,
that
your
we pay the
claims.
claims out of.
Yeah, there's several components, the fixed cost elements and the claim funding, so.
This could have been a lot worse.
Oh, yeah.
a lot worse.
Wasn't there a period of time, Travis, where claims were coming through with the county as secondary and things were kind of flipping back and forth where Medicare was shown as the primary?
Yeah,
And it was going back and forth, which is what really
yes.
kind of started the look. And then we had a provider
Yeah.
wanting me to file all kinds of reports or something that I didn't have information on. And
Yes.
they were trying to figure out who was covering what.
Yes, because we have this, within our system, it's called Medicare 111 matching. So what happens is 111 matching is we send a file to Medicare each month of people that are Medicare eligible, primary, secondary, and then it flipped and they told us, oh, well, he must have had B, and then we were processing claims one way, and then we got it back another way. It's all happens behind the scenes. It's, it just happens. And then they reversed it and said, no, he doesn't have B. So it's our guesstimation, that's all it is that one point in time that maybe he signed up for it and never paid his premium to Medicare. Because you can do that, because you get billed quarterly if you're getting billed direct. If you're not drawing Social Security, you can get a quarterly bill, and then if you don't pay that bill, they'll retro cancel it back to the day that it was supposed to have been effective. So there's a time frame in there, probably in early 19 maybe, since he was effective 18, that he had maybe signed up for B but didn't pay the premium, would be our guess. And we tried to call them to verify that, and they said we have no record of him ever being active on B, is what we were told by Social Security Medicare Administration.
Did they ever have a record of him applying for Part B?
They said there's no record of him being active on B. That's all. We don't ever really ask about applications. It just.
But if he was active but then didn't pay, so they retro-termed him, it would not show active because they never paid anything because
Right.
like we retro did his
That's exactly.
those claims. So,
Yep.
and I will say we had an issue to which the county board chairman had to send him a letter because he was 3 months behind paying our premiums. And then we told him the next time,
Because you have 30
the next
days.
time you're over 30 days, you will be off the plan. Because we just kept, we were not getting our money, but we were paying claims.
Would the county have had any documentation showing that he was eligible for Medicare back in 2018? Like through disability?
Unless he gave it to you. No.
Would we have had knowledge he was on disability?
We assume that anybody that's on dialysis is going to apply for disability. That's just the way it is. And then, that's why we kept saying, hey, you got Medicare, you got Medicare. That's what prompted the calls.
To tell him that he was eligible for Medicare?
No,
Well,
he
part
said
of
he
the
was going to
calls-
be on it.
That he kept telling us, I'm applying. Okay, when are you gonna get it? And we know that it takes a while sometimes to get all that paperwork done. We know that. And, I don't remember exactly how long it went.
19 months.
So if he only applied for Part A, which it appears that's what he did in the beginning back in 2018, and they weren't covering most of his expenses, is it possible he thinks he's not on Medicare yet? If they're denying all his claims?
I don't, well, they won't be denying him because what was his retirement date?
October 31st of 18.
18. So the plan was getting him paid. So the plan was paying those claims. So, because that period of time where, until we know that he's on Medicare, we don't know that he applied for it, so we just keep paying him as primary. We would have known to flip it over because we didn't know that he had Medicare. Does that make sense? Because until we have Medicare effective, we pay as we're the primary payer, period.
And you have no ability to contact Medicare, correct? You said that changed.
Oh, we contact Medicare all the time, yeah. But there's really no claims since most of it's outpatient to pay. So, we have case managers that get involved in that, and the dialysis people are involved in that process, and we had no idea that he had Medicare until after this snafu happened, and do our file with them, feedback, so we know that the dialysis, if he only has A, we know that we're gonna keep on paying on B. Because there's that matching file behind the scenes.
Do you know if your company called Medicare to verify if he actually was on the plan back in 2018? If he was on Medicare?
I have no idea on that, to be honest with you. I don't know, but I know that we did whenever he kept telling us he was gonna get the plan, and then all that problem happened when he called me and said, hey, I'm applying. So I said, hey, this is gonna be happening at some point in time, that he's gonna get Medicare. Because, we tried it for the counties, everybody, the greater good of everybody, try to get him off the plan.
Which is why I contacted him on a monthly basis to find out if we needed to let Consociate know, he's on Medicare, take him off of our invoice. Because every month he told me next month.
But Medicare wasn't actually covering the majority of his medical expenses until July 1st of 2020. That's when he gets on Part B, and that's when the outpatient gets covered.
That's correct. Well, we termed it June 30, so.
June 30.
Yeah, we got
And
that
then we
letter in
retro
May.
termed him.
Yeah, then we retro turned him all the way back when we got his letter, all the way back to the original date that he got Medicare, because that's what the plan document says, which nobody ever reads the plan document, so, which we've established. I mean, I have read my own plan document, but that's one of the questions. I think we even had that conversation, who reads the plan document? It's 115 pages or whatever long. And, the most important section of the plan document is the eligibility section, and that's where it's at. But the layperson doesn't know that. The layperson knows, I'm sick, I'm paying my premium, I think I have coverage. That's exactly what they know.
So in your opinion, is this something that would constitute a fraud or theft?
I don't think he intentionally defrauded the county, is my personal opinion. I think he had a serious health condition and he thought he was paying premium and he wanted to make sure he was covered. That's my personal opinion. Not that that holds any weight, but this is not the first time we've seen something like this happen. People think that they're paying their premium, I'm covered. And they want to make sure that they have coverage when they have a serious health condition. And I don't think it's, the fraud or theft even would come to anybody's mind. If I'm sitting there paying my premium and they're accepting the premium, I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, I'm eligible. I never read the plan document. That's my personal opinion. And talking to him on the phone, there was never any of that, like he was trying to, pull anything, behind the scenes or anything like that. He just kept saying, I'll get you my card when it's whenever we're doing. I don't know how he ever got a hold of me anyway.
And he's dealing with his own medical things. He doesn't have like a power of attorney
Not that I'm aware
or
of.
even a spouse that was stepping in for him.
He's not
I don't,
married.
is he married? I didn't know if he was married. I don't know his
He's
status.
widowed.
Divorced, I believe.
I have no idea the status. Well, there's, on the county's plan, everybody's a single unit. We don't have any family units on the plan, so I don't know if they're, if it was in
Right.
spouse coverage, I would know that, but there's 0 family units.
I was just wondering if there was a healthy person, talking for him to you to help explain things because he's very ill, so.
I didn't talk to anybody else with him. He called me on his cell phone. My 2 numbers, all I remember, like a 217-259 or something like that phone number. I don't know why I remember that. I didn't.
So what amount of money, if any, is Consociate out because of this, where he was on the county's plan and not
Well,
getting the Medicare benefits he could have gotten?
we're not out anything, to answer your question. We're not a fiduciary on your plan. We process and pay the claims. So we're not out anything.
Okay.
There's no stake in us in this game for us at all.
You just kind of help administer.
Yeah, the county is the plan administrator, the third-party administrator that processes and pays the claim and monitors the plan provisions is what Consociate does. We have no fiduciary liability. There's no financial stake in it for us.
Okay.
We did put a mechanism in place until we put the amendment in there, removing the retirees from the plan altogether. We did put a mechanism in place that would flag anybody that is age 65 on your plan we had a few months in there, just to monitor that and make sure something like this wouldn't happen again. It's not a normal protocol.
And that was done after this situation occurred?
Yeah, after we found out that this was going on, we immediately put that process and procedure in
And
place.
we no longer have retirees on the plan, they have to go to COBRA.
You have to go to
We're
We
COBRA.
just did that.
About a year ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say 6-7 months ago.
Shouldn't have
Yeah.
gone that way in the beginning, but it wasn't for whatever reason, so they all go on COBRA now.
Yeah, we met in the plan, anytime you make a plan change like that, you have to give 90 days notice to participants, anytime you're taking away a possible benefit. So I believe we met
It was
in
I was here, so it was in February.
this year.
Yeah, this year.
And then we removed it.
Yeah, I do remember.
Yeah, I started late February.
So the way it was, or if you can explain this, he applies for disability, he applied for Medicare Part A, which was not covering outpatient. He keeps the county insurance plan. So for a while, he is simultaneously on Medicare Part A, and then he's on the county insurance plan.
That's correct.
So when he would go have a procedure and get the bill, is it going directly to the county then?
It's going to, it goes to the way the claim flow is it goes to HealthLink, which is your PPO network. That HealthLink electronically sends the file to Consociate. And then in the system, if anybody is Medicare eligible, it's going to say primary or secondary. So then the system automatically knows whether to wait for Medicare to pay it or we pay it first, and then it goes to Medicare.
So for his situation, he was actually covered by Medicare Part A at that time.
Yes.
So if you go, say he had an outpatient procedure, he'd get a claim, that would go through HealthLink to Consociate, and then shouldn't it pop up that he's on Medicare when the claim goes through?
The claim goes through,
Yes.
like an inpatient stay, is that what you're asking?
No, outpatient, that wouldn't have been covered
Oh,
under
if it
Medicare
wasn't-
Part A.
Well, it would just automatically, the system would know that he doesn't have B, and they know it's an outpatient procedure, we just process and pay the claim.
Okay, and so if he had had an inpatient procedure during that time, it would have went to Medicare Part A
Yep.
as the primary?
And then we would pay secondary.
Okay.
And here's the thing with Medicare that most people don't realize is that if you have two plans paying, your secondary coverage will never pay more than your primary coverage. So, for example, let's say they deny a hospital claim for whatever reason, they deny it, and let's say that bill is $2,000, just as an example, and Medicare does not pay that, Consociate would not have paid the $2,000 either. Your plan just doesn't automatically pick up. Because if the Medicare pays zero, we would pay zero. The secondary care never pays more than the primary.
Okay. So just taking it through like one claim, if he had an outpatient procedure that's only covered by Part B, he would have had the procedure, it goes to HealthLink, then it goes to Consociate. Since he doesn't have Part B, Consociate would be the primary on that.
Yep.
Wouldn't somebody be flagged that if he's eligible for Medicare Part A, he should be eligible for Part B?
No, because it happens a lot.
So you're not
There's
necessarily,
a lot of people on A and not B.
can some people qualify for Part A but not B, not Part B?
Not that I'm aware of.
So it would just seem if he's on Part A, it would just seem like when it goes through the system from HealthLink to Consociate, and the bill comes through for outpatient, that if he's on Part A, it should be obvious he's also eligible for Part B then.
Right, but there's lots of people that have A and not B. Lots of
They just choose not to take B.
Right.
for financial reasons? Or?
Yeah, because if they're paying a premium to the county or any entity, why would you pay for two coverages, you know, to have Medicare just pick up this little slice of whatever?
So I guess in an instance of that, which here he was using us when he shouldn't have been because of the way our plan was, correct? But like say you're a husband and wife and the wife was on Medicare A, but the insurance is better, husband's insurance was better for Part B, they would stay on, wouldn't take Part B.
Yeah, they don't
Or
want to
vice
pay two,
versa.
they don't want to pay two premiums.
Right.
You know,
They would go with whatever was a cheaper,
Mhm.
more likely of the two, he just, for some reason, just didn't do it.
It happens all the time on an employer that pays a lot of the family unit costs. You know, why pay your B until you need it and let your plan pay? Because you're paying a premium, or maybe you're not even paying a premium, like on a lot of union plans or school districts, different plans like that. I mean, I don't know everybody's financial logic and choosing why they choose to not go A or B. There are reasons to not take Medicare at all, and that's for high deductible health plan reasons, but you guys don't have a high deductible health plan.
So who would have been explaining the difference between Part A and Part B to him? Or to anyone who retires and they have a medical?
Well, I mean, Social Security Administration, Medicare Administration, their insurance agent who handles their personal insurance. You know, I met with a lady the other night who's 65 and she's a lot better off to be on Medicare than to make her contribution. So I personally met with her. That's what your insurance professional does. I don't know who his personal insurance person is, but that's the first person they should talk to when they're eligible for Medicare, in my opinion. But I might
So
be a
it's
little
not like
biased.
common people don't understand it real well. it
Most
sounds
people
like?
do not understand it. They're used
Yeah.
to, most people are used to an employer-sponsored plan, and I gotta be honest with you, some people are scared when they go to Medicare. I mean, because
They don't know what's gonna be covered.
that's exactly right. Because the only thing they know is, I've had my employer-sponsored plan forever. It's been good. I like it. I want to stay with that. You know, if they can. Because, you know, like our plan, for example, does not cover retirees, and that's typical. But your plan does cover retirees, so.
So do we know how he finally got on Part B or why he got on Part B? Was there
We
a
don't know if
meeting?
he
We just
with
kept
him?
pushing them for it, saying, hey,
But we don't even know if he is. All we know is once he proved he was eligible for A, he's off our plan.
yeah, we got
because
the card and we turned him.
our plan is not A or B specific, it's Medicare period.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, retrospectively looking back, you know, wish he would have proved to give us that letter back there that he had it back in 18 when we would be having this conversation.
Would have been a whole lot cheaper for him.
Oh,
If you think
whole
about what he's been paying.
And better
stuff,
coverage.
Yeah, it'd
And
been a
better
lot
coverage.
cheaper for him.
For him to start A on November 1, the day after he retires, he had a conversation with somebody, and I was not the treasurer at the time, and he had a conversation with the prior treasurer that he was going to be on Medicare because he was retiring, you know, early, age-wise early, but for disability reasons. So that conversation had to be had before he retired,
Yeah.
somewhere along the way.
I can tell you, the provider would have never had that conversation with him and never told him to enroll in Medicare.
The provider.
The dialysis facility, and here's why, is because they know Medicare pays a fraction of what a commercial payer does, like a Blue Cross Blue Shield. You guys are a commercial payer because you're self-insured.
Right.
You know, you're going to normally pay about a 3 or 4 times rate than what Medicare does. So that facility is never going to say, go enroll Medicare, go enroll Medicare, so we can take a cut and pay, because it's commercial payers keep all the dialysis facility, which is 1% of the population are commercial payers. They keep every dialysis facility open because that's their profit.
So he may have had a medical professional telling him it's not in your best interest to get on Medicare.
That's very possible. It happens. You know, stay on your plan as long as you want, because whenever this tells you how important this is. I took a class on this at one of our conferences one time about dialysis. And one thing that they will tell you is that when a person goes from a commercial payer to Medicare, the CEO of the company knows that. Because they know that the reimbursement is going to be cut by more than a third. So, you know, you take a $500,000 patient and now they're a $150,000 patient. You know, think about how much profit that is
Yeah.
for DaVita or whoever,
That's
your
one patient.
Fresenius.
Yeah.
You know, that's one person, 1%.
But it was that dialysis company that kept contacting me wanting all kinds of information. I'm like, I don't have
Yeah.
that information. I can't provide it to
Well, we
you.
weren't paying the claims because they're on that advanced funding register,
Right.
which saved everybody.
Right.
And the taxpayers a ton of money.
I mean,
I don't,
everybody was doing what they could to get him to do what he needed to do. He was just stringing us along, I guess, or not understanding it.
Well, and we discussed because every other retiree retired close to Medicare eligible age. With IMRF, because their premiums are being sent to us through IMRF, IMRF is flagged, they're now eligible, Consociate's flagged, age-wise they're eligible. I mean, we have it, we know those dates, so because then we send, documentation to IMRF so they don't send us any more of somebody else's retirement money so that we don't have to reimburse it. So all of those are easy. This was not easy because we can't just pick up the phone and go, hey, is he on it?
Yeah, it's an atypical situation.
well, it was nice before they went to unique identifiers, because you could go to the Medicare website and you could type in Nicole's social security number and look up and see if they were eligible for Medicare or not. Can't do that anymore unless he gives us a Medicare number, which nobody knew that he had. But now, if you go in there and type his Medicare number in there and his date of birth on the Medicare website, you can see his eligibility dates. But when you had social security numbers, it was easy to get your social security number because it was on every enrollment form we received. And then 2 or 3 years ago, whenever it was, they went to that. Now you can't do that. It was nice because we didn't have to even call anybody if there was ever a question. Now it's not even on the table.
Do we have any other questions?
Now, I'm gonna ask, do you understand how our insurance works? I mean, you just got on here.
Well,
Could Travis give you just a brief synopsis on how our insurance works?
this
We should have done that separately.
$27,500, is that per person or per the plan itself for all the people?
That's a great question. There's two components to your insurance. And there's one that is a specific coverage. And what specific coverage means is that we have the underlying plan that everybody has on the plan here. So if Katie is an employee here, she has to meet all those deductibles and out of pocket and everything. And all the claims that are above her benefit level go into this bucket of $27,500. And once that is satisfied, and let's say she has a $100,000 claim, let's say she has a $127,500 claim.
Okay, just to be exact.
Yeah, let's just say she has that above her, what she's already paid out of her pocket, the reinsurance company would reimburse $100,000 of that.
Okay.
So basically what you're doing is you're becoming the insurance company behind the scenes, and you're buying a high deductible health plan, and you're administrating the underlying plan that we have here at the county. So it's a mechanism because when you're self-insured, you're basically becoming the insurance company. And we know all insurance companies have a guaranteed 20% profit margin for a large group. You guys are a large group. And you're taking that 20% and you're keeping it here. And you're not giving it to an insurance company, and you guys are becoming the insurance company. So you might sit there and say, oh my gosh, $27,500. Let's say for a round figure you have 100 people on your plan, which you don't, but let's say you did. You'd be like, that's $2 million, $700,000 some odd dollars. We can't afford that because we were paying $1 million some odd dollars before on our fully insured plan with Blue Cross Blue Shield. So what happens is the second component to your reinsurance is we have a separate bucket. All those claims that are in that 27,500, they have a separate bucket that money they look at called an aggregate. So those aggregate claims, all the claims up to 27,500 are put in a separate bucket. And when that bucket's full, which doesn't happen very often, you get reimbursed above that. Because this one policy is reimbursing large claims. This one is your sleep at night coverage so that you can have a cap for your entire plan.
That's what I was going to ask you, is a cap for all the employees? If
Yeah,
you reach a-
that's the aggregate.
Okay.
Where's
Yeah.
this?
It's, whenever we have a reinsurance renewal, which we'll be having here hopefully in a couple of months, here really short, maybe around October, November, whenever I lay all that out on a spreadsheet, it will make more sense to you. Because if you know, everybody always says, well, maybe we need to be fully insured as a county. Well, I'd say there's just no free lunch when it comes to that, because even if you're fully insured or self-funded, everything's based on your claims, and you're just taking that 20% profit and you're keeping it here and managing the plan yourself, and you have the freedom to do what you want to do with your plan, whether because of union contracts or whatever. You have that flexibility to make those plan changes, and like we acted real quick on this retiree plan, boom, we just pulled it out of the plan with our 90 days notice. Now, if you're insured with Blue Cross Blue Shield, let's say, for example, you'd have to wait till your renewal cycle, you'd have to file a new application, then they would pull it out. So you have to wait till, say, January 1st to do that, to make that change. So you have that flexibility. Does that help?
Yeah.
It helps a little bit.
And to keep, we did this plan, and I believe it's been a wonderful plan for the county, I think you would agree. Basically, one of the reasons was we are a fairly healthy, for lack of a better term, group. I was going to say workers, but we're fairly healthy, we're good health. So that keeps our renewal lower and lower every year. The healthier we get, the less we expend. We might not have it. What did we have this year? It was a fairly good one, but I can't
Well, we've got a
remember.
little over 200,000 in that account, but the very first year, there were higher claims. We do have one employee that has a $90,000 deductible. We pay the first $90,000. And the general fund, the health insurance actually owed the general fund money, but we've now built up, it's over $200,000 because last year, our claims went down, which is part of the other reason, because they say over a 5-year average, you're gonna have a bad year, really bad year, you're gonna have a really good year, and then you're gonna have some in-between years.
And I think.
So we're sitting with that money, sitting
Yeah, I
there.
think when we did this, basically we were gonna save what, almost
I see,
$10
I wasn't
million,
here when-
I think it
wasn't
was,
here when you
in
first started.
possible premium increases, if this worked right, over a 10-year period, which
Yeah.
is a lot of money.
Yeah,
That, and I think we're starting to see the benefits. Unfortunately, we've had some growing pains with it, with people and trying to figure out how things are working, and unfortunately, we had this situation come up, and we just need to
You learn
figure
from it.
out what we need to do to rectify this.
Yeah, the biggest problem you have right now is maintaining your cost control on your prescription drugs. So there's other mechanisms we have in place behind the scenes that nobody, even the participant, doesn't even know is going on. Like a lot of your manufacturers have copay assistance programs, like you see on TV. It says if you can't afford your drug, you may have to pay zero copay. So, like for example, Humira has a $12,000 copay assistance program. So what we do behind the scenes, and this, nobody even knows the participant, they just go and get their drug and all this other stuff. So what we do with that $12,000 is we apply for that copay assistance behind the scenes. We capture all that $12,000 savings, and the participant doesn't know any different, and we save the plan $12,000 through your pharmacy manager. Because we go out and we know those programs are available. Now, if you're with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois, for example, they do not have those copay assistance programs because their pharmacy portion of their plan is for profit. Their PPO is for profit. The insurance company is not for profit. And we have a fair amount of business with Blue Cross Blue Shield. They're our largest insurance carrier, but we feel this is the best mechanism for the county if you have more than 50 employees to, save over time.
So do we want to move on to the family health, then we can
Yeah.
just talk and they can leave if they want or stay about this rest of this?
I don't need to stay.
Okay, I assumed as much, that's why I figured you guys probably
The
have.
other one first.
Yeah.
You get to stay.
So,
Unless you guys want me to stay,
I mean,
you just like my company
Did you have
that much.
information on the family plan though? You said Randy had asked you
Well,
to,
this is what the call from Randy was, he said, be prepared to talk about family contributions to the health plan. And I said, well, I need to have some sort of idea, because we have no family members on the plan whatsoever. And I think maybe it's a recruiting tool, maybe, I don't know, because you're having a hard time getting employees. I don't know, maybe it's a union thing.
I think it's too expensive. I know two employees in my office aren't taking it because they can just go outside for their family cheaper.
There's no doubt about that. Yeah, because it's the family unit. So what we do every year is we come up with calculations. And we do an employee child rate, employee spouse rate, employee family rate. Well, in a normal situation, when you have those tiers covered under your plan, you can actually come up with a rate. So what we have to do is we kind of have to pretend that those people actually exist on your plan to come up with a rate, because the way it normally works is, on a health insurance plan, they have what they call a standard relative. And what that means to you on a standard relative is, what does an employee child cost our plan, what does an employee spouse cost our plan, and what does a full family unit cost our plan. So an employee is 1.0, let's say. An employee child is, depending on the carrier, but we usually use 1.8 or 1.9 for a child. Doesn't matter if you have 1 or 10 children, it's the same, because children are cheap on a plan. And employee spouses usually cost you more than employees. So you think, oh, that's 2.0 because there's 2 adults on there. Well, if a spouse takes the plan, it's usually because they have some serious health condition and they can't get it somewhere else. So that's usually a 2.1 factor. And then family unit is usually a 3.1 factor. So if you took your family unit and took it times 3.1 on your single COBRA rate, that would be your number. Spouse would be 2.1, and your child was, I would just say, use 1.8 for your child.
What is the COBRA rate then right now?
what is it like? We take out our administrative
It's $900
fees,
some
so
dollars.
it's 993, but then it was like 1,026, and we take out, we
The
don't charge
2%.
an
Yeah,
administrative
the
fee for
2%.
us to do something.
Yeah, so you back out the 2% and then you multiply it, take it times 0.98, and then times those factors. And those are the costs, assuming you had some of those people. And I know it sounds kind of crazy.
Well, looking at those figures, I can't imagine anybody being able, if they work for the
Yeah,
county, being able to afford insurance.
You can't,
for their
that's why
family.
that's why school
But the
districts,
900, well,
school districts and municipalities and counties are all the same. There's hardly any family. Yeah,
Wow.
it's crazy.
But see, like in Macon, I paid $300 for my whole family, and we have police officers going to Effingham County, for instance, they're paying $300 now for the whole family. Another deputy maybe going to Pana, they're paying
They're paying $300 a pay or a month.
a month.
Wow, that's cheap.
And
So the
then,
county government is
but with us
subsidizing
being
a huge.
self-insured, you run into public funds for private purchase. It's not like the bottom line is the premium. Because with the bottom line, you've got the part of that premium going to a general fund account at the bank, and then you're turning around and taking public funds, and it's a private purchase. That's why we moved retirees to COBRA, because we
Yep.
were spending public funds on people who were no longer providing a service to the county, so that's considered a private purchase.
Yep.
I don't know, since we're self-insured, that we can, because then, correct me if I'm wrong, but on the 27,500, say I put my child on with me, Does my child then get $27,500 in claims paid?
Yes.
So my child's getting up to $27,500 out of the county general fund, and she doesn't work for the county. She's not providing a service to the county, and could that be, that was kind of what we discussed back when we went from Kroger, that could be considered a private purchase, public funds for a private purchase.
Here's what I would say about that topic. Under the federal law, you're not required to cover any spouses, but you are required to cover children. So that's federally mandated that you have to offer child coverage. You do not have to offer spousal coverage. You don't have to offer family coverage, but you have to offer spousal coverage.
We offer it, it's just not cheap.
That's right.
We offer it.
And, you know, most of your municipalities, school districts, county governments, and I work with a lot of them, they almost always just do the same contribution for the employee that they do for the family unit. So let's
That's what we
say
do.
it's $1,000 and $3,000 for the family unit, and let's say it's an $800 contribution totally. They pay $800 on the $1,000 and they pay $800 on the $3,000 for that exact reason,
And that's
because
what
it's
we do.
taxpayers' money. But there are some, we have some school districts and stuff that do pay, because it's collectively bargained, part of the premium for the,
That would have to enter into with labor agreements
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
yeah, I agree with you
It's
100%.
negotiable.
Yep.
Yes.
Well, and then even the small town of Pana, their family health insurance is $450 a month. So we're losing employees because it's more than a mortgage.
The city?
Mm,
Okay. Yeah.
But family health insurance to pay for that's more than a mortgage is, and
Pana can do that?
yeah. Because there's one county employee that may be going there, and part of the reason was to have family health insurance, and we called and verified it, and it's $450 a month for the whole family.
Wow, that's cheap.
And then 2 employees came with me from Macon, and they were shocked when they got here because they were paying $300 a month for family health insurance, and all of a sudden it's like over $1,000. That was
Yeah.
not really what they thought they were walking into, because that takes out of your salary
Yeah,
substantially.
yeah.
I don't know if they would have come
I
with.
mean, I don't know how you,
that.
I don't know, if you were a police officer and you had to pay $2,000 a month for your family to be on the plan, I don't know how you would afford it.
You can't.
You're working for free.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, something's got to give somewhere. but-
and we're losing employees rapidly
Yeah.
in this county.
Well, I mean, everybody is
For multiple
fighting,
reasons, but this is a big.
everybody's fighting the same battle that you're fighting. It doesn't matter if you're Walmart or the any grocery store, private employers, everybody's fighting for employees and.
I'm just wondering, I mean, I'm not an insurance expert at all, how Pana can give, premiums like that for family insurance. How can Effingham do it? Macon County was a little larger, but still, and then we're like triple the price of it. It's unaffordable. I mean, it's basically no family health insurance, because you might as well just go outside. Everybody goes outside. That's why you have 0 people in this county on family health insurance.
Yeah, and to elaborate on that just a little bit, and this is just a little food for thought, and it's kind of like the chicken or the egg, which one comes first? Your family, looks so high because we have to make up some ghost number that we don't know. If you had 20 people that were taking family coverage today, well, that rate would come down.
We've got 20 people supposedly that would be interested in it.
Yeah, so
20 employees that would be interested in it.
If we have,
most certainly.
because I know 2 people in my office, I only have 4 people.
Yeah.
Depending on cost, there's the email I received from Jessica.
I haven't seen it.
Okay. That said there's roughly 20 employees that would be interested in family health insurance coverage.
Full family, or just spouse or child?
That I can't answer.
It
It
doesn't
did not imply that. All the email said is that she's received responses that roughly 20 employees would be interested in family health insurance depending on the cost.
Was that sent to the sheriff's department too?
Well, I got it from,
'Cause I
it
know
was sent
most of
to
them would be. so
Barb,
they could afford
myself,
it.
and Teresa. That was the one it was sent to, and then, I want to say.
If we could get you a solid number, could we get a?
Oh, yeah, we can come up with some numbers. Definitely, because I'm gonna tell you that children help your plan. Having family units on your plan, not necessarily spouses,
And
but
this,
children help your plan.
and this could be added anytime, because we don't have to go through. We can add this if we wanted to soon.
Yeah, well,
correct or not? Because
Well,
of the
you're-
renewal, or what do you, how does that work?
you'd have to do it on your open enrollment period.
Which is right now, August.
Okay.
You have to do it on your open enrollment period.
So it has to be this month?
Yeah. And what you could do is you can always do a special enrollment. You know, you can do things like that. You're self-funding, you have that flexibility.
That's what I was kind of
Yeah.
alluding to, I guess.
Yeah, because you have to let the carrier know, hey, they've never paid for family coverage before, they're gonna start paying for family coverage. You let the carrier know that we're gonna do a special enrollment, let's say December for a January 1st start date, or whatever date you wanna use outside of your normal open enrollment period. And I can't remember off the top of my head, and maybe you know this, Erica, because you're heavily involved in the plan. All my plans start to run together. Does your plan document state the exact time for your enrollment period, or does it say you have an annual open enrollment period?
I'm not sure. I just know our open enrollment is August to start
Okay.
September 1.
So who's our carrier?
It's HCC Life is your reinsurance carrier.
And as far as I remember, I know you weren't here when we went into this insurance. Barb is not here, Terry's not here, so I'm the old person, I guess, is that what I'm saying here, but I don't remember when we were with Blue Cross and Blue Shield having very many employees with, if any, with insurance.
You never did.
Family.
It was
Yeah, with family
expensive,
insurance.
but too, it was.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not just that because of this plan,
No.
is what I was kind of alluding to. It's not because of this plan, it's just, it's always been, you know, either somebody's had a spouse that works somewhere else and had better insurance, or,
You had said something in one of the meetings we had over there because an employee had asked you something, but you said insurance is now, like if I had a spouse and they were eligible through their employer, didn't you say that employers are now mandating if your spouse is eligible through their employment, they have to get it through their employment?
Yep, that's what we do for our plan.
Okay.
You can do, there's a couple different things as it relates to spouses you can do. Number one, you can make them not eligible if they have coverage available, and we need to talk about that just a little bit. If they have coverage available through their employer, number one. You can also do what they call a spousal surcharge, saying even if your employer has coverage available, you can take the county plan, but you have to pay an extra $100 or whatever if you decide to do that. So that way, you'll protect your plan. Let's say you decide to pay half the premium, we'll just say that. And you can protect the plan from people jumping off of their employer's plan because you want their employer to cover them and you want your plan to cover your people. So you have to sign an annual affidavit on the open enrollment cycle saying, you know, I do not have coverage available. But this exists today, and there's groups, we have small groups here in this town. This is where I want to caution you on the spousal carve-out. Because under the law, there's a no contribution requirement for employers for small group. And during an annual open enrollment period, which is somewhere around November 1st to December 15th, you can have a group plan. So you have XYZ Fence Company over here, and employer can say, I'm offering a group plan, but I'm not going to pay any premium. There are plans out there that we insure in your town, I can tell you, that pay nothing towards the plan. So
So the employee pays the full premium?
the employee pays the full premium. So I want to caution you, if you go down that route, that you could knock somebody out, because I've had this happen on our other self-funded groups that have a working spouse rule in this town, that they are paying none of that premium, and it knocks them out of eligibility for that plan, and they're still paying 100% of their premium at their employer. So just buyer beware. If you want to do something like that, we'll have to craft it to where...
I thought you had said it was an industry thing. And
It is an
something
industry
that-
thing, but you may want to craft the wording to where it implies that the employer is making a contribution towards your health plan, which is the minimum contribution for Blue Cross Blue Shield is 25% for an employee in a normal group situation and 50% for Health Alliance,
For a spouse.
for an employee. So if, say you're married and your husband works for XYZ Fence Company, but they're not
Right.
paying anything.
They're not
for that.
paying anything.
So you want to craft that amendment to where that the employer is contributing to their cost of their plan. You want to word it that way, not just that they have coverage available, because they do have coverage available, but they may not be paying anything of it. And there are groups in your town that have that exact situation in place that we have through Danzig and Shelbyville Insurance Services that are paying none of the premium.
The employer's
The
not
employer's
paying.
paying zero.
So my spouse would say, hey, I can go over here
All over the county, because
because
they're paying part of the premium.
they're paying part of the premium
Yeah.
and my employer's not paying any. So you put language in there,
Mhm.
I mean, that's fine. That's.
Yeah, that's just something, if we
I
get
just-
down that road, that you're gonna have to, those things that you have to think about, because they exist. I'm gonna tell you, in your community, because I've had to deal with them.
Well, it's still, one thing we have to have is we gotta have some type of loyalty to our employees to make sure we maintain employees. I mean, I'm a big person on that. I know I'm working in the private industry section or not, the municipality and stuff, but you still have to have some loyalty to your employees and make sure they're taken care of.
Sure.
I mean, that's a major thing as far as retention. My belief only, I'm not speaking for anybody but myself on this, but,
I mean, how many are you guys down? How many could you hire if you had to hire?
I think we can hire a bunch of them.
Everybody is in the
Yeah.
exact situation.
And county highway can handle hiring several, and I don't know where else there's any shortfalls at. Those are the
There
only
is
two I know.
the deputies and stuff, and the bad part about the deputies is what I've been told, if you don't get an experienced one, you got all this training that they have to go
Yeah.
through before they're up to snuff to where they're.
We're losing the
really-
whole department, basically.
Yes,
And they're not leaving law enforcement, they're going elsewhere,
Yeah.
yeah.
you know? At a time when everybody wants police,
Yeah, right.
they can go elsewhere now.
Oh, yeah, the city of Decatur, they're all hiring. I mean,
Most of them are going to Effingham, some of them are going to state police. One's gonna maybe go to Pena. But they're getting better benefits elsewhere, they don't have all the drama in other counties that they had here, and they're leaving, and they're real open about it.
I mean, I understand, believe me.
So if we get you a hard number,
Yeah.
say there's, I don't know, 20 employees, if that's 20 employees with spouses and kids, and so it could be 30 people that would want to be on, you could come up with a price.
Premium equivalent, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's gonna be a guess, because we don't know what type of claims they're bringing in.
Right.
You know, and I'll have to be honest with you, most of your county governments that I work with, they're paying part of the family. Oh, yeah, definitely.
And I understand the cost of insurance, like I said before, I went to the plan I was on, we were at $2,500 a month for my family of 3 that are healthier as can be, so.
I mean, for the longest time, we didn't pay any of our spouse, child premium, and we're paying part of it, because you have to be creative for recruiting these days.
Right.
Because everybody's doing crazy stuff right now. I've never seen all the time like this. It's nuts.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we can come up, if you tell me, you know, do you remember how many exact employees are on your plan right now?
I think right now 63.
63. So if you
I
say,
think we've been as high up as 71.
I had 72 stuck in my head.
so if you tell me, you know, you have so many employees, child, employee spouse, and employee full family, because it'd be highly unlikely, I think, in my mind, that there would be 21 of a full family with 63 eligible. That number.
I would think so, but
It
it doesn't compute. I understand that, but.
A third of your people wouldn't take full family coverage because there's spouses that work and things like that,
Right.
work at, you know, HSHS or your other larger employers, you know, the city or wherever.
I agree. So I don't know that, all that email, it was a vague, you said 20.
Does
Yeah.
it matter the ages of the children and stuff when
Nah.
you give a quote?
No, you can just tell me 63,
I just say 26.
and you can say, you know, 11 family, I'm just my way my mind works, and you know, 2 spouse, and, you know, 4 child only, or something,
Whatever
whatever the
it
number
broke
is.
down is that.
Yeah, however you want to break that. I mean, most people do 4-tier plans: employee, spouse, employee, child, children, and full family unit. So it'd be employee, spouse, and at least 1 child. But yeah, I understand where you guys are at there. I mean, recruiting and stuff. and retention is tough. It's a market for the person who wants to work today.
Unfortunately, there's not enough of them out there. Do we have any other questions for Travis and Katie about anything?
I don't.
I mean, if you need anything else, you know, if you guys have.
I've got your number, I saw it today, so
Yeah.
I forgot I had it, so. Unfortunately, you're the only one I had a number for in this group. I sent Nicole an email, I don't know if she saw it or not, but
Well,
What email?
this morning I was running late.
Oh, I did, yeah.
I was like, I need to let somebody know, I got your email, I have nobody, I don't have your cell phone number, I don't have your cell phone number, I don't have Erica's cell phone number.
Did you come down 128?
I'll give you mine.
No, what happened was, I got in the vehicle, and it's just like every other time I get in the vehicle. Yes, and my wife got it in.
like all your.
I can give you your last name.
She what?
Yeah, I thought, and then I thought, oh, she looks familiar.
But,
My office is in Decatur.
so I had to do my gas break.
You know, if anything comes up and you have any more questions about
Thank you.
either situation, we're here to help you. And
I know how to get hold of you.
Thank you, it's complicated.
it's complicated, you know, and hopefully we don't have any situations like that come up ever again.
We just gotta figure out how we wanna proceed with that one.
I just have to go real quick, I'll
You're
be
fine.
right back.
We probably, I mean, it's been in here for an hour.
Are you gonna have a public comment free?
Yes. And you guys can go ahead without me, I'll be right back.
We still got some talking.
You don't need me.
You guys, I feel like you've done a well presentation, letting us know what's going on.
Okay.
Brian, I might like to ask some questions, if that's all right.
We'll go
For
with
me?
Well,
Sure.
yeah, probably. I've got a whole slew of them. Some of them may have already been answered. I just want to make sure that
You want to wait till everybody's back in the room?
Whatever you want to do.
It's up to you.
What do you want to do, Brian?
If you're asking him, he's gonna be answering, so
Okay.
I see no reason.
So several of these may already been answered. I apologize if I...
That's fine.
Does the effectiveness of the alleged claim of fraud change depending on what part of Medicare you're on, A or B or whatever?
Not that I'm
No.
aware
So there's no part specification?
Huh,
Okay.
no.
If the person in question didn't understand the various aspects, because I know it's complicated, my dad recently went through it. If they don't understand the various aspects and consequences of Medicare and its coverage and how that relates to insurance, is there any way that that would legally absolve them of some allegation?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. And you said it might take a while for Medicare paperwork to go through sometimes. How long can it take?
It can take up to a year or more. I've definitely seen that.
Okay.
But usually with the situation that existed on that participant, it's usually retro-effective immediately, once they start dialysis treatment.
Okay. You said Consociate's not out any money over all this, right? Is the county out any money? There was a number mentioned.
Yeah, it's in the $35,000 range, I
Okay.
believe. It's roughly what it is.
34 or 2 something.
Yeah. I don't know the exact number. Erica has a spreadsheet that has all those exact numbers to the penny and who they're paid to and everything.
Okay. If the same or similar circumstances, under the same or similar circumstances, if Consociate would have been out money, do you think your company would have pursued any legal action?
No, because, you know, we wouldn't be out any money because we're not a fiduciary on your plan.
Okay. But if you were out money,
Mhm.
would your company have, be entertaining the pursuit of legal action there?
Well, they're only out claim dollars, so I don't know how we would be out anything. If it's an administration fee, like when we retroed them back, we would just eat that credit, to answer your question, because that's all we charge is your administration fees, our broker fees, and we would just give those back to you. And it's such a small portion of your plan, it's just a little bitty wedge of your plan, it wouldn't be worth our fees to
Well,
get an attorney. for
I mean,
that.
if you were out $35,000 some odd dollars, give or take, would you then, do you think your company would then pursue? That's what I'm really asking there. Is that sufficient for you to pursue?
Yeah, if we were out $35,000 for something, we would. I don't see any situation that exists that we would be.
Right, it's more hypothetical, so. I think for now, that's probably it. Oh, no, wait, I do have one more. Does the county's insurance plan state that coverage is to be terminated when the individual is eligible for Medicare or when they actually get on Medicare coverage?
They have Medicare coverage. Eligibility, we don't know when that would exist. So whenever they obtain Medicare, period. It didn't discern between A or B. So when they obtain Medicare coverage, they're not eligible anymore, to answer your question.
Okay. And the records indicate that coverage was obtained?
11/1 of 2018.
I think
And that's when we retro back to that day.
I think that's all I had.
You got any public body comments?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Okay. In an open meeting of the county board, an individual was named by name and accused of defrauding the county
Correct.
over this.
Correct.
Will the county board, members of the insurance company, say for a fact that no fraud was
We
incurred?
have no idea if that has occurred yet or not. We have purposely in this meeting today not brought out any names
Mhm.
because of, we have no idea what could have transpired. It could be a number of things could have happened. And if it's found out that could be, then we will proceed. But if we have the right representation here, that we will discuss what we need to feel and do, and we will move forward.
But at this point, you're not accusing an employee of fraud?
The insurance committee is not accusing an employee of anything as of right now. There has been allegations thrown out there from other people outside of the insurance committee and the county board.
Right.
I don't even know him.
Oh, it's out there.
It's all right, but I'm new to the committee, new to the board and stuff, so.
So,
That's what I was asking.
okay.
From-
You have any questions for Travis or
I
Katie?
think I'm good then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank
Sorry
you,
for
guys.
myself
Good to
being
see you
late,
again.
but, yeah. Oh, by the way,
Nice meeting you.
is the Prado thing going on next week, the
It
conference?
is, but I'm not going.
Okay.
It's 2 weeks.
It's 2 weeks from now? Okay.
2 weeks from today or yesterday?
I don't know if you can attend that somehow still.
It's in Nashville.
It's a conference that the insurance captive puts on that has meetings.
Perfect.
And that's what I was getting at.
Yes, it would.
And it's a 2-day type of fair. It's down in Nashville. I went a couple of years ago and I learned a lot. I would highly recommend if you can fit it into your schedule to attend it. And I know this is thrown at you real
Yeah.
quick. I was going to attend last year's. I was scheduled to attend last year and it got, just like everything else,
Last year was
canceled
bad.
from COVID. And I forgot to even get on and watch they did it on a virtual thing or something.
It's
I
going to be
forgot.
available virtually this year too.
Is it? Okay, so maybe you can do that. I would highly recommend you at least do something,
Yeah.
because it will teach you a lot about how the insurance works, how it interacts, what we can do to help lower our insurance costs.
What other employers are doing.
Yes.
It's
And
your
some of it
peers.
doesn't relate to us because we can't do a lot of the same things they do because of being a municipality and taxpayer dollars, but
17th, 18th, 19th are the 3 days. Okay.
and I know Erica's got something on that, so maybe you can talk to Erica.
Yeah.
Because I got an email somewhere, but it's buried, and I couldn't find it on my phone.
Well, we could forward it to you.
Yeah.
There's talk of moving the whole conference to virtual, just for your information, because this
Okay.
whole Delta thing, nobody knows
Yeah.
what's going on.
Okay, well,
Well, that wouldn't surprise me at this point.
Yeah.
I just would, while they were here, I wanted to ask that real quick.
Yeah,
I appreciate your
yeah,
time. We appreciate your time and your knowledge. Have a good day. Hopefully you have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Meeting you as well.
Be careful driving back to Decatur, they're shooting.
Oh, we got
broad daylight.
in town.
We'll be in touch.
We got bulletproof windows now.
That's good that you need them.
Hopefully we can go into a closed session. Can we legally go into a closed session and talk just the three of us, or since it wasn't on the agenda, could we not do that?
Oh, it wouldn't need to be on the agenda, but I don't know that an exception applies because it's not pending litigation
Okay.
or even threatening litigation at this point.
Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah.
That answers, okay. That's fine.
So, in your thoughts, how should we proceed? Is there any evidence of wrongdoing from what you've heard today? I mean, to me, it sounds like it was somebody that was scared and misinformed. I have no idea. I'm not in his mind, I'm not in their mind.
Let me just read you a statute which deals with repayment, civil penalties. Tell me if you think it applies. Any person who by means of a false record, statement, or representation, or by willful concealment of any material fact, or by a fraudulent scheme or device on behalf of himself, his dependents, or others, knowingly obtains from the state or local government unit compensation, benefits, or remuneration for which he is not entitled, or in a greater amount than to which he is entitled, shall be liable for full repayment of such compensation, benefits received, to which consisting of interest on the amount of compensation, which could be 3 times the amount.
So that'd be
So-
90-some thousand, almost $100,000.
Do you have a false record, a false statement, a false representation, a willful concealment of a material fact, or fraudulent scheme is the question. And then, and do we have a knowingly obtaining from the state or local government unit benefits to which he's not entitled? I don't know that he understood
The
the,
last part I could see where maybe we have that, but the rest of it, I don't know if we could really.
well, even Travis said he didn't think it was a fraud. He said he thinks
Right.
it's a situation where he didn't understand.
But he
different
paid
benefits.
$900 and some dollars a month, and if he was really trying to get something over on somebody, you wouldn't think that he would be willing, I don't know what he draws per month, but that's a lot of money.
It was actually costing him money to take the county plan rather
Yeah.
than Medicare. The way I understood the initial allegation, I thought he was somehow profiting or that he was getting double coverage, but he wasn't, because he was never under Part B, which would have covered the same medical expenses for which he was paying the county insurance to cover. So I don't see how that's fraud. He's actually hurt himself by doing this.
Cost him some money.
What was that statute?
735 ILCS 5/20-103.
And in your legal view, as our representation, do you feel you could take this and prove any of those first few allegations?
I don't believe so.
I mean, that's kind of what I'm looking at. I think if it was to go to a jury trial or anything, I don't know how you could prove any of that.
I think it's confusing in that he's on Part A, but Part A wasn't covering what he needed for the most
Yeah.
part, so he
And-
probably thinks he's not covered.
And you don't know what mental state he was in
No,
that time
and
because
it's a
of,
renal issue, which, I mean, when you're on dialysis, that causes confusion. You can
Yeah.
see that just by
I
Googling
can't
the
answer that
symptoms.
because I've never been,
That's why I asked, is there a
knock
healthcare
on wood, I've never been
provider
around somebody that's
assisting
been on
him?
dialysis. So,
I don't know what help he had. I don't know what his doctor was telling him. His doctor may have told him, you need to stay on the county plan. Medicare's not going to cover this. Who knows?
It could be somebody knew what they paid, and, yeah, you don't know.
I mean, if Medicare was paying it, then he knows he's covered, but it wasn't because he was under the wrong plan. He was under Part A, not B.
right.
Part B would have covered all the outpatient, and then when he's asking the county to pay for that, then you have knowledge that, okay, I am enrolled in Medicare, I am eligible for it, they are covering it. But that's not what he was enrolled in. He's enrolled in Medicare that's not covering 90-some% most likely of the expenses he was getting. If he was profiting from it, that's you
That
know,
would be
more
different.
arguably fraud, but he's actually costing himself almost $600 a month by staying under county plan. So it looks to me like he's confused.
That's kind of how I've taken
I
it.
mean, fraud's a heavy allegation.
The first number that was thrown out to us, when you weren't around, and I don't believe you were either, it was a lot more. That was
I think it was
thrown
like
out.
34,000 some.
Well, the first number that we heard a year ago or 6 months ago, whenever this first came up, was a lot larger number than what this 34,217, is that right, Jeremy?
297.
297, okay. Thank you. So, there's no way we can, there's no wages to garner, there's no, it would just have to be, it would just have to be for any repayment, if we had it, would have to be a judge's ruling.
Right, it would have to go to court, the judge would have to rule, and
Because
then,
there's nothing we can't do as a former
I
employer.
mean, we can ask him to reimburse it. We can always do that. I've heard that he has responded, he does not have the money, and he would declare bankruptcy if this did go to court. And I haven't spoken to him personally, but
I don't have a clue.
If
then
a
you look at-
person's that sick, doesn't your heart enter into this too if you don't think he did it willfully? And then you're gonna pile this on top of everything else that he's got going in his life and stuff?
I agree to some extent on that, but emotion has to be taken out when it comes down to a business decision, so to speak. And I understand what you're saying, and the empathy I have for that person is true, but I've got to look at it in a viewpoint of the law. Can we actually prove any of this? I don't feel we could prove any of it personally.
I mean, I thought it was confusing when Travis was explaining it.
It's a lot of money, I first
It
agree
is
with
a lot.
that, and, but I don't see anything from what you just read on that statute that we could prove, any one of those, except maybe the very last, that he was taking something above the very last sentence of the state or something that. I mean, I haven't seen that, but it's something about towards the very end.
That if he knowingly obtained.
Yes.
from
And he
the
might not have
state-
known he was obtaining it incorrectly too.
Right, he actually knowingly obtained from the state or local
Municipality.
governmental unit
Yes.
the benefits to which he is not entitled.
Yeah. So he might not have knowingly been able to,
He thought he was paying for it.
yeah. So I don't see any way you could legally get anything done.
No, on the health benefit plan, there's no provision which says you must inform the county
Right.
when you are eligible for
It just says
Medicare
you've gotta
or,
go on it if you're eligible.
it just says if you're, let's see. It talks about who's eligible, eligibility for retirement coverage. You're eligible if you're a retired employee of the employer and you're not eligible for Medicare. It doesn't put any requirement on the retiree to inform anyone if they are on the plan. It just says you are eligible for retiree coverage, which is what he was taking on our plan, if you are a retired employee of the employer and you're not eligible for Medicare. His defense would be, he apparently, Medicare wasn't covering it because Part A is not covering 90% of his expenses, so.
So in your legal opinion, is there any way or any form of fraud that was,
In my opinion, it's not fraud.
okay? So,
And that's why when Travis explained it, when I
Right.
talked to him before this, that's what he said, that he's repeatedly said he did not think
and
this is
there's,
a fraud.
in your legal
It's a fraud.
opinion, there is no case that we could actively, or in your opinion, there's no case that we could win?
Recover the money.
I don't
to
think breach
recover
of
them.
contract applies because there's no language in there that required him to The language I read to you is what
Right,
covers,
yeah, yeah.
which it just explains when you're eligible and when you're not.
And then the proof would have to be on the county that he knowingly did this without,
If you want to go after him for fraud, which is what I read,
right.
I don't think that applies. That's my opinion.
So a false record statement or representation wouldn't apply?
Where
If it
was the written
shows
statement?
knowingly,
It doesn't say knowingly on that part, though. That's the very first sentence.
any person who by means of a false record, statement, or representation, or by willful concealment of any material fact,
Did
or
he
by
willfully
other
conceal?
fraudulent scheme. So these are all fraudulent schemes they're talking about, or device on behalf of himself knowingly obtains from the state benefits to which he's not entitled.
Well, false record statement or representation doesn't say willful, knowingly, or scheming. Those come later. I mean, I'm going to try to be human. I understand the guy's got health issues, and your heart does have to feel for a person. But I also agree with what Brian said. Emotion kind of comes out of it, and we are talking about taxpayer money. If it was a private company and you wanted to let something go, that'd be one thing.
But we're being told that we are legal, the person who will be legally fighting this case says there's no case.
What is this false statement or representation? He wasn't being covered. I mean, Medicare is not covering him for what the expenses were the county was paying him for.
Right, but every month when he was called and asked, "Are you on Medicare?" and he said no, and the answer was actually yes, he may not have understood.
He may
He
not
may
have
not
been-
have.
If you don't understand, it's not false. That's a mistake. It's not a lie.
It's still false. It's just not willful.
Well, this is a statute that deals with fraudulent schemes. A guy who is ill and confused is not committing fraud necessarily.
Okay, I can understand how a person is in poor health and they don't understand and whatever. I do still think it's a false record statement or representation. Now, whether or not it's a winnable case, I can see your point.
Well, the only record I was given was a letter that was dated May 26th of 2020, and that's when they're telling him when his plans were effective, and it tells him that it reads like he doesn't even have his Medicare card yet. It says, it's very blurry, it was a text photograph I was given, but it says, use this letter as proof of Medicare coverage until you get the Medicare card you requested. We
So
don't
he-
even know what he was told before that. This is dated May of 2020.
So he may not have known,
He might not know.
and I completely understand that, but that doesn't necessarily make it false, or it doesn't keep it from being false. I mean, if I'm driving down the highway and the speed limit changes and I didn't see the sign, is that an excuse for me?
Under this statute, it's requiring a mental state of defrauding someone, and we don't have that.
Okay.
You know where that needs to go.
I'm sticking my nose in here, okay? I'm on disability,
Okay,
okay, and have been for a number of years.
okay.
It
I'm
took-
sorry to hear that.
Thank you, appreciate it. And I receive IV infusions, which is what's led to this, so I have an ongoing thing. It took me 18 months to receive anything from Medicare, okay? And at the time, my doctor at the time said, do not cancel your insurance.
Until you're sure you're
Stay
covered.
on your insurance. My working, you know, and I switched, I was not able to work, I switched to Cobra, and I paid for that, you know, during that period of time until Medicare kicked in. And I had to go get Part B. I mean, it was.
Yes.
It
You
was-
had to actually.
Yeah,
go-
and I'm sticking my nose in,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I've been sitting here listening to this, and, you know, it takes forever.
I understand that, and I appreciate your input, because I honestly think there was just a lot of stuff that slipped through the cracks on this.
Well, then, I mean, if this letter had been
And I don't
dated,
think anything unknowingly was done. Maybe like you said, the doctor was telling you, you need to stay on your insurance until you get this all figured out. And in 18 months, that puts him roughly in the time frame where he was at.
I mean, we know he was.
Because it was November 1st of 18 and 2020, May of 2020, is that when that letter is?
It's May 26th of 2020 that he
So
gets
that's,
the effective date letter.
that's almost
so
18 months right there.
He may not have known.
Yeah,
Now, they did backdate my Medicare,
right.
but you know,
And they backdated all that,
Uh-huh.
but what happened was the
I did not.
reinsurance
I
part
didn't
of
get money for it or
our
anything
employee
like
plan
that.
kit, you know, that 27.5 over that 18-month or 20-month time frame is what's kind
And
of.
I didn't get, you know, they did not give me whatever you pay for your medic, not,
Right.
you know, they take out of your social security. I did not get that back as a lump sum or anything like that.
Was your insurance paid for by, like, taxpayer money? Was it a government thing?
No, of course not. You know, so I was a private entity, I'll give you that.
But Medicare doesn't always
I
communicate
don't care.
the next day.
And that would be
Like,
my point. Medicare does not communicate well.
They're not
Agree on it.
Yeah,
about
I think
this.
we're both on the same page here.
And I think Barbara would work.
Yeah. Well, I see no reason to take any action on this.
I don't
Do we need
either.
to have a motion on that between Teresa and I? Or can we, or, I mean,
You make the motion?
Yeah, that's fine.
I make a motion, we take no action on this. We feel that there's no fraud occurred. We feel that,
Stop approving at this point.
that he was in a possible emotional distress and was given bad advice by certain people, and it was
And
corrected.
did profit, right?
We've put in fixes in our policy to correct this issue.
I second it. I agree with,
And
from what was
we
presented.
wish him the
today.
best of health from here on out. And are you good?
I'm good.
So, everybody in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So, Brian,
So we'll be on the agenda for the county.
there's nothing to be on the agenda for because we just decided there was nothing that we should take action on. Correct?
Correct.
Could I present one last thing, Mr. Kaufman?
Yes, you may, Jeremy.
I don't know that the two things have anything to do with each other, and the person's name was released by someone else.
And I do not agree with that being
I don't
released.
I don't
We had
either.
internal documentations in
That's
the
gonna get
committee
looked
that,
into because that was wrong.
yes.
I don't agree with it either, and that's why I didn't say the person's name. But since it was put out there by someone else,
And I disagree with you, you did say the person's name in the last board meeting.
I did not say the person's name. I gave the amount.
But go ahead, go ahead.
The person also is suspected of having participated in illegal activity in the department in which he worked. And I'm wondering if you get away with that for so long, you think you can get away with something else, like alleged insurance fraud.
I have no idea what allegations you're throwing out there at this individual again.
Okay.
I'm clueless.
Out at, I believe he was a business partner of someone in the highway department who's been accused of using county resources to operate a private business. And so since he was the business partner and he also was a county employee, it could be seen that he got away with operating a private business off county property for a long time, and then perhaps might have thought, I can get away with this too.
You're doing a lot of hearsay thinking there, I do believe.
I could be. I just wanted to present the option.
Well, you're telling me stuff I don't even know about, so.
Okay? I'm not making any accusation. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying you're telling me stuff I don't even know about, so I think to try to put yourself in somebody's shoes and their thoughts and their mind is not an appropriate position.
I'm just presenting the possibility, so.
Okay. I appreciate you saying that and bringing it to our attention. Any other business? I think that was everything we had down, correct?
Yep. Oh,
Motion-
so Brian, will someone reach out to the county employees to see how many?
I will
maybe-
try to see if Jessica can do that or
Okay.
something. And FYI, I will not be at the meeting on Thursday. I have a commitment with our elevator and our retreat in St. Louis to go over 10-year planning.
Okay.
I'm on the board of directors for our elevator, so I will not be there. If anybody needs anything from me on this by then,
I'll be there.
I'm leaving Wednesday night, so
Okay.
we got meetings starting Wednesday night and going through Friday, so.
It'd be nice to get a better family insurance plan though, because
Well, we gotta do something to
people.
retain our employees and
There's reasons that they're leaving, and there's a gamut of reasons, and for them to go from the county to the city, I think it has to be, part of it is in wages, and I don't know how you address that.
I think the city pays less than what some of them are
It's
making in
all
county,
comes
and they're
down to
still
insurance.
leaving. And they,
Well, I think there's other stuff going on. Do I need a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
Sorry, my son's calling me.
I'll find out what the insurance is for the Shelbyville police.
I second.
Because that does change salary if you're not paying that premium.
Sure it does, sure it does. It makes a big difference. Yeah, it does.
And that has to fall into the union contract you're negotiating.
But we're negotiating it now, so.
Yeah. I second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you for everybody for coming. And like I said, my writing is horrible.